Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Ranking Member. Once again, I'd like to follow up on the earlier discussed question on the unique features of the agency being the only U.S. financial regulator that is not funded directly by the industry that it oversees. And there's this explosion now going on in sports betting. I'm very much concerned about the susceptibility of the young people to these market conditions. So over the last decade, we have witnessed the explosion in legalized sports wagering, an industry that has grown faster than many of our traditional financial markets. And we know whenever capital, technology, and human behavior converge at this speed, history teaches us that risk accelerates also. In finance, we would call this a systemic creep. This isn't where we want to go, but this is where we can unintentionally end up. The danger that small, unregulated activities aggregate into a structure capable of inflicting broad harm. We call these young persons students and athletes, but after the gamblers and other people surround them and prey upon them, then they're cast aside as adults and have to fend for themselves. And considering that the sports is gaining money, and at the same time the president is reducing the oversight when there's more profitability, this is an open question, probably starting with you, Mr. Schwartz. Do you think the administration is going in the right direction, having a reduction in enforcement of 20% for oversight? At the same time, there's more money, more profitability available. Will this create more harm for students or more safety?
Well, I certainly share your concern about young people. I have my 15-year-old behind me here in the audience today, and if I find out that he's been betting on sports or taking positions on a futures exchange, I'm going to take away his phone, okay? So I think it benefits everybody to have a strong enforcement program, not to turn against my son, but against the actual wrongdoers. And I don't think that I think most parts of the private sector would agree. Depends on who the enforcement program is looking at, but that's a very important aspect of what the CFTC does.
Mr. Schiffen, I would ask that to you. Is the administration going in the right direction and asking for reduction, and the agency has no means by which to generate funds to safeguard the protection of students?
Thank you for the question. As I said earlier, no, I think it's the wrong direction. I think the funding for the CFTC needs to be increased, not decreased. I also think that it needs to be increased so the CFTC can focus on its core mission. I'm not sure that the Commodity Futures Trading Commission is the right regulator to regulate what is essentially sports gambling. And so we want the CFTC, but if it's going to be forced to do that, it needs to have way more funds than it has currently.
Okay, and today, as we look, the danger is not theoretical. The decisions that this body will make will have long-lasting impact. It's already pressing against the lives of young people. Many of these NCAA students, students that are able to make more money than professors, students that are the ones that went to college, are being preyed upon. I would ask that to you, Mr. Prosner. What should the agency ask for funding, if you have an opinion on that, sir?
I don't have an opinion on funding. I can say that from our side, as we look at all the new innovations that are happening, it's not really our place to say whether it's good or bad, but I think that it's better to have that debate with a fully funded, fully staffed commission in place to make sure that all of the participants get to have input and then to have a decision rather than to do it in a vacuum.
Thank you. I'll ask that of Ms. Crichton, please.
Thank you. I'll echo Mr. Prosser's comments. I think I'm not a lawyer, but I am a risk manager. So two places that I would encourage not only Congress, but the CFTC to focus on is the risk management framework that will and ultimately potentially apply to these contracts. And one is thinking about segregation of default funds. So where there's an intersection of these new products with more traditional products and end users, we have to think about the segregation of default funds to protect those communities from one another and insulate them from each other. And I'd also encourage everyone to think about the impact of direct clearing by removing intermediaries, by removing in particular, the asset segregation and customer protections that we provide. And when they go directly to the clearinghouse, many of those protections go away. So there's kind of two very practical considerations that should be part of this as well.
Well, I've exceeded my time, Ms. Stump. I wish I could have gotten to you as well, maybe next time. Chairman, Ranking Member, I yield back, but there's a fine line between the fandom, the speculation, and the coercion are now blurred at an accelerating speed. I hope that we fully fund this, and I strongly disagree with the administration in cutting back funding for oversight.
Mr. Jackson yields back.